2 Chronicles, chapters 1 through 4. And Solomon the son of David was established over his kingdom, and the Lord his God was with him, and increased him exceedingly. And Solomon spoke to all Israel, to the captains of thousands, and to the captains of hundreds, and to the judges, and to all the rulers over Israel, even the heads of the families. And Solomon and all the congregation went to the high place that was in Gibeon, where was God's tabernacle of witness, which Moses the servant of the Lord made in the wilderness. But David had brought up the ark of God out of the city of Kiriath-Jearim, for David had prepared a place for it, for he had pitched a tabernacle for it in Jerusalem. And the brazen altar which Bezaleel the son of Urias, the son of Or, had made, was there before the tabernacle of the Lord. And Solomon and the congregation inquired at it. And Solomon brought victims thither to the brazen altar that was before the Lord in the tabernacle, and offered upon it 1,000 whole burnt offerings. In that night God appeared to Solomon, and said to him, Ask what I shall give thee. And Solomon said to God, Thou hast dealt very mercifully with my father David, and hast made me king in his stead. And now, O Lord God, let, I pray thee, thy name be established upon David my father, for thou hast made me king over a people numerous as the dust of the earth. Now give me wisdom and understanding, that I may go out and come in before this people. For who shall judge this thy great people? And God said to Solomon, Because this was in thy heart, and thou hast not asked great wealth, nor glory, nor the life of thine enemies, and thou hast not asked long life, but hast asked for thyself wisdom and understanding, that thou mightest judge my people, over whom I have made thee king, I give thee this wisdom and understanding, and I will give thee wealth, and riches, and glory, so that there shall not have been any like thee among the kings before thee, neither shall there be such after thee. And Solomon came from the high place that was in Gibeon to Jerusalem, from before the tabernacle of witness, and reigned over Israel. And Solomon collected chariots and horsemen, and he had 1,400 chariots, and 12,000 horsemen, and he set them in the cities of chariots, and the people were with the king in Jerusalem. And the king made silver and gold in Jerusalem to be as stones, and cedars in Judea as sycamores in the plain for multitude. And Solomon imported horses from Egypt, and the charge of the king's merchants for going was as follows. And they traded, and went, and brought out of Egypt a chariot for 600 pieces of silver, and a horse for 150 pieces of silver. And so they brought for all the kings of the Kettites, and for the kings of Syria by their means. And Solomon said that he would build a house to the name of the Lord, and a house for his kingdom. And Solomon gathered 70,000 men that bore burdens, and 80,000 hewers of stone in the mountain, and there were 3,600 superintendents over them. And Solomon sent to Hiram king of Tyre, saying, Whereas thou didst deal favorably with my father David, and didst send him cedars to build for himself a house to dwell in, behold, I also his son am building a house to the name of the Lord my God, to consecrate it to him, to burn incense before him, and to offer showbread continually, and to offer up whole burnt offerings continually, morning and evening, and on the Sabbaths and at the new moons, at the feast of the Lord our God. This is a perpetual statute for Israel. And the house which I am building is to be great, for the Lord our God is great beyond all gods. And who will be able to build him a house? For the heaven and heaven of heavens do not bear his glory. And who am I that I should build him a house, save only to burn incense before him? And now send me a man wise and skilled to work in gold, and in silver, and in brass, and in iron, and in purple, and in scarlet, and in blue, and one that knows how to grave together with the craftsmen who are with me in Judah and in Jerusalem, which materials my father David prepared, and send me from Libanus cedar wood, and wood of juniper, and pine. For I know that thy servants are skilled in cutting timber in Libanus. And behold, thy servant shall go with my servants, to prepare timber for me in abundance, for the house which I am building must be great and glorious. And behold, I have given freely to thy servants that work and cut the wood, corn for food, even 20,000 measures of wheat, and 20,000 measures of barley, and 20,000 measures of wine, and 20,000 measures of oil. And Hiram king of Tyre answered in writing, and sent to Solomon, saying, Because the Lord loved his people, he made thee king over them. And Hiram said, Blessed be the Lord God of Israel, who made heaven and earth, who has given to King David a wise son, and one endowed with knowledge and understanding, who shall build a house for the Lord, and a house for his kingdom. And now I have sent thee a wise and understanding man, who belonged to Chiron my father. His mother was of the daughters of Dan, and his father was a Tyrian. Skilled to work in gold, and in silver, and in brass, and in iron, and in stones, and wood, and to weave with purple, and blue, and fine linen, and scarlet, and to engrave, and to understand every device, whatsoever thou shalt give him to do with thy craftsmen, and the craftsmen of my lord David thy father. And now the wheat, and the barley, and the oil, and the wine, which my lord mentioned, let him send to his servants. And we will cut timber out of Libanus, according to all thy need, and we will bring it on rafts to the sea of Java, and thou shalt bring it to Jerusalem. And Solomon gathered all the foreigners that were in the land of Israel, after the numbering with which David his father numbered them. And there were found 153,600. And he made of them 70,000 burden bearers, and 80,000 hewers of stone, and 3,600 taskmasters over the people. And Solomon began to build the house of the Lord in Jerusalem, in the mount of Moriah, where the Lord appeared to his father David, in a place which David had prepared in the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite. And he began to build in the 2nd month, in the 4th year of his reign. And thus Solomon began to build the house of God. The length in cubits, even the first measurement from end to end, was 60 cubits, and the breadth 20 cubits. And the portico in front of the house, its length in front of the breadth of the house was 20 cubits, and its height 120 cubits. And he gilded it within with pure gold. And he lined the great house with cedar wood, and gilded it with pure gold, and carved upon it palm trees and chains. And he garnished the house with precious stones for beauty, and he gilded it with gold of the gold from Pharuim. And he gilded the house, and its inner walls, and the doorposts, and the roofs, and the doors with gold. And he carved cherubs on the walls. And he built the Holy of Holies. Its length was according to the front of the other house. The breadth of the house was 20 cubits, and the length 20 cubits. And he gilded it with pure gold for cherubs, to the amount of 600 talents. And the weight of the nails, even the weight of each, was 50 shekels of gold, and he gilded the upper chamber with gold. And he made 2 cherubs in the most holy house, woodwork, and he gilded them with gold. And the wings of the cherubs were 20 cubits in length, and one wing of 5 cubits touched the wall of the house, and the other wing of 5 cubits touched the wing of the other cherub. And the wing of one cherub was 5 cubits touching the wall of the house, and the other wing was 5 cubits touching the wing of the other cherub. And the wings of these cherubs expanded were of the length of 20 cubits, and they stood upon their feet, and their faces were toward the house. And he made the veil of blue and purple and scarlet and fine linen, and wove cherubs in it. Also he made in front of the house 2 pillars, in height 35 cubits, and their chapiters of 5 cubits. And he made chains, as in the oracle, and put them on the heads of the pillars. And he made 100 pomegranates, and put them on the chains. And he set up the pillars in front of the temple, one on the right hand, and the other on the left. And he called the name of the one on the right Stability, and the name of the one on the left Strength. And he made a brazen altar, the length of it 20 cubits, and the breadth 20 cubits, and the height 10 cubits. And he made the molten sea, in diameter 10 cubits, entirely round, and the height of it 5 cubits, and the circumference 30 cubits. And beneath it the likeness of calves, they compassed it round about. 10 cubits compassed the laver round about. They cast the calves 2 rows in their casting, wherein they made them 12 calves, 3 looking northwards, and 3 westwards, and 3 southwards, and 3 eastwards. And the sea was upon them above, and their hinder parts were inward. And its thickness was a handbreadth, and its brim as the brim of a cup, graven with flowers of lilies, holding 3,000 measures. And he finished it. And he made 10 lavers, and set 5 on the right hand, and 5 on the left, to wash in them the instruments of the whole burnt offerings, and to rinse the vessels in them. And the sea was for the priests to wash in. And he made 10 golden candlesticks according to their pattern, and he put them in the temple, 5 on the right hand, and 5 on the left. And he made 10 tables, and put them in the temple, 5 on the right hand, and 5 on the left. And he made 100 golden bowls. Also he made the priest's court, and the great court, and doors to the court, and their panels were overlaid with brass. And he set the sea at the corner of the house on the right, as it were fronting the east. And Hiram made the flesh hooks, and the fire pans, and the grate of the altar, and all his instruments. And Hiram finished doing all the work which he wrought for King Solomon in the house of God. 2 pillars, and upon them an embossed work for the chapiters of the heads of the 2 pillars, and 2 nets to cover the heads of the chapiters, which are on the heads of the pillars. And 400 golden bells for the 2 nets, and 2 rows of pomegranates in each net, to cover the 2 embossed rims of the chapiters, which are upon the pillars. And he made the 10 bases, and he made the lavers upon the bases, and the 1 sea, and the 12 calves under it, and the foot baths, and the buckets, and the cauldrons, and the flesh hooks, and all their furniture, which Hiram made, and brought to King Solomon in the house of the Lord, of pure brass. In the country round about Jordan, the king cast them in the clay ground in the house of Succoth, and between that and Saradatha. So Solomon made all the vessels in great abundance, and the quantity of brass failed not. And Solomon made all the vessels of the house of the Lord, and the golden altar, and the tables, and upon them were to be the loaves of showbread. Also the candlesticks, and the lamps to give light, according to the pattern, and in front of the oracle of pure gold. And their snuffers and their lamps were made, and he made the bowls, and the censers, and the fire pans of pure gold. And there was the inner door of the house, opening into the Holy of Holies, and he made the inner doors of the temple of gold. So all the work which Solomon wrought for the house of the Lord was finished. Psalm 118, 119 in Hebrew, verses 81 through 96. My soul faints for thy salvation. I have hoped in thy words. Mine eyes failed in waiting for thy word, saying, When wilt thou comfort me? For I am become as a bottle in the frost, yet I have not forgotten thine ordinances. How many are the days of thy servant? When wilt thou execute judgment for me on them that persecute me? Transgressors told me idle tales, but not according to thy law, O Lord. All thy commandments are truth. They persecuted me unjustly. Help thou me. They nearly made an end of me in the earth, but I forsook not thy commandments. Quicken me according to thy mercy, so shall I keep the testimonies of thy mouth. Thy word, O Lord, abides in heaven forever. Thy truth endures to all generations. Thou hast founded the earth, and it abides. The day continues by thy arrangement, for all things are thy servants. Were it not that thy law is my meditation, then I should have perished in mine affliction. I will never forget thine ordinances, for with them thou hast quickened me. I am thine, save me, for I have sought out thine ordinances. Sinners laid wait for me to destroy me, but I understood thy testimonies. I have seen an end of all perfection, but thy commandment is very broad. Proverbs chapter 31, verses 6 through 9. Give strong drink to those that are in sorrow, and the wine to drink to those in pain, that they may forget their poverty, and may not remember their troubles any more. Open thy mouth with the word of God, and judge all fairly. Open thy mouth, and judge justly, and plead the cause of the poor and weak. The Holy Gospel according to St. John, chapter 11, verses 1 through 37. Now a certain man was sick, named Lazarus of Bethany, the town of Mary and her sister Martha. It was that Mary which anointed the Lord with ointment, and wiped his feet with her hair, whose brother Lazarus was sick. Therefore his sisters sent unto him, saying, Lord, behold, he whom thou lovest is sick. When Jesus heard that, he said, This sickness is not unto death, but for the glory of God, that the Son of God might be glorified thereby. Now Jesus loved Martha, and her sister, and Lazarus. When he heard therefore that he was sick, he abode 2 days still in the same place where he was. Then after that saith he to his disciples, Let us go into Judea again. His disciples say unto him, Master, the Jews of late sought to stone thee, and goest thou thither again? Jesus answered, Are there not 12 hours in the day? If any man walk in the day, he stumbleth not, because he seeth the light of the world. But if a man walk in the night, he stumbleth, because there is no light in him. These things said he, and after that he saith unto them, Our friend Lazarus sleepeth, but I go, that I may awake him out of sleep. Then said his disciples, Lord, if he sleep, he shall do well. Howbeit Jesus spake of his death, but they thought that he had spoken of taking rest in sleep. Then said Jesus unto them plainly, Lazarus is dead, and I am glad for your sakes that I was not there, to the intent ye may believe. Nevertheless, let us go unto him. Then said Thomas, which is called Didymus, unto his fellow disciples, Let us also go, that we may die with him. Then when Jesus came, he found that he had lain in the grave 4 days already. Now Bethany was nigh unto Jerusalem, about 15 furlongs off. And many of the Jews came to Martha and Mary to comfort them concerning their brother. Then Martha, as soon as she heard that Jesus was coming, went and met him, but Mary sat still in the house. Then said Martha unto Jesus, Lord, if thou hadst been here, my brother had not died. But I know that even now, whatsoever thou wilt ask of God, God will give it thee. Jesus saith unto her, Thy brother shall rise again. Martha saith unto him, I know that he shall rise again in the resurrection at the last day. Jesus said unto her, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. And whosoever liveth and believeth in me shall never die. Believest thou this? She saith unto him, Yea, Lord, I believe that thou art the Christ, the Son of God, which should come into the world. And when she had said so, she went her way, and called Mary, her sister, secretly, saying, The Master is come, and calleth for thee. As soon as she heard that, she arose quickly, and came unto him. Now Jesus was not yet come into the town, but was in that place where Martha met him. The Jews then, which were with her in the house, and comforted her, when they saw Mary, that she rose up hastily, and went out, followed her, saying, She goeth unto the grave to weep there. Then when Mary was come where Jesus was, and saw him, she fell down at his feet, saying unto him, Lord, if thou hadst been here, my brother had not died. When Jesus therefore saw her weeping, and the Jews also weeping, which came with her, he groaned in spirit, and was troubled, and said, Where have ye laid him? They said unto him, Lord, come and see. Jesus wept. Then said the Jews, Behold, how he loved him. And some of them said, Could not this man, which opened the eyes of the blind, have caused that even this man should not have died?